Welcome back to the channel, and today we are in the test zone and we're going to be testing lift with different parts. So I saw this comment from Chevy Tech 68 saying, here's an idea for a video. Try to figure out how much weight can each wing lift. This would be super useful data to have it in the back of your mind while doing challenges, battles, etc. So I think it's fun about this. It's not only just getting the data on the different wing lift amounts and having that knowledge, but I think trying to construct an experiment that can get this information will be a challenge in and of itself, because I don't think it's really as much of a matter of just like slapping different wings on a plane and seeing what happens, because there's so many variabilities with like the angle of your plane, the speed of your plane, all that stuff. So I need to try to isolate as much as I can and just have the wings be the only variable that we see. And also I gotta try to figure out how to measure. How do we measure it? Does it feel floaty? Like, is it feel floatier? Like, that's not an accurate measurement, but I have an idea and I really hope this system works, because if it doesn't, I don't have a backup idea. So the idea is to use a bit of like a centrifuge, or like a circular motion, so that the wings go on a constant path. And I'm gonna hope that these rotating servos at max speed are strong enough that they're gonna keep the same speed with the slightly different sized wings. So we'll set these to rotate at an infinite angle and hold position. So now when I press space, as long as I have a seat on this thing, then it should rotate around like that. For some reason, I want it to rotate counterclockwise. That just feels, when I'm imagining this experiment in my head, counterclockwise is just what's happening. So I'm gonna keep with that. All right, so now let's build our attachment point. I'm gonna try to have like as little weight as possible. So I'm just gonna use these beams here. Actually, I should use the chrome blocks, because they don't even have aerodynamics. We're gonna try to minimize other aerodynamic influences by using these chrome bumpers. All right, so now I need my measuring system. I mean, it's one thing if I slap a wing on the edge of this. Actually, let's see what happens when I slap a wing on the edge of this. Is this going to like bend our system, or are we gonna be pretty solid? All right, that actually looks pretty good. Okay, now actually we can measure the speed. Here, let's add a speed sensor. So this speed sensor will measure speed in this direction. From there, it is going to output its measurement to a number display. So we should be, hold on, let me get in my free cam. All right, so I don't like that it's not, I don't like that it's not a consistent speed. Why isn't it a consistent speed? It should cap out at like a speed, but it doesn't. All right, anyway, I'm seeing 53 as its max. That is weird. And now I just wanted to like, let's take away the wing and see if it feels like a different speed. Oh, hold on, let me go back into free cam mode here. All right, now I am seeing like 59. All right, it's not gonna be the most perfect experiment, but hopefully we'll be able to get some results. All right, so we got this. Now we need to be able to measure lift. We need to be able to see the effects of lift. Oh, maybe if I have this counterweighted. Let's look at our forces. Oh, well, that's not, okay, hold on. Here, I need to have this centered here. There we go. Now we can see the center weight with this thing. So now we just need to add a counterweight over here. This is probably gonna be way too heavy. Yep. All right. I am gonna have to add stuff that has aerodynamics on the counterweight side, but I'm hoping it'll give us a more consistent speed. I don't actually know if that's the case or not. All right, that's looking much more centered. Let's see if the speed is more consistent. Why wouldn't it be more steady of a speed? But all right, well, we're gonna deal with that. It's not about the speed, it's about the lift. Okay, so now the mechanism for the lift Here is what I'm imagining. I'm imagining the wing is on a suspension, some type of suspension system that compresses as the wing receives lift. And then I'll have a distance sensor that measures the distance that it compresses and outputs to a number block. So we should be able to see smaller number equals more lift. Okay, so if we take, I don't know how much suspension I'm gonna need. We can also adjust the strength of the suspension. I'm gonna go with 3 stacked right now, and I'm just gonna set them to minimum stiffness and minimum damping. And then I'm gonna slap a wing on it and then just see if it works in theory. Okay, so it's gonna be really hard to see what's happening, but I have an idea for that. So we got this, and we got a camera block right here. So now if we press left shift, okay, so we need both sides of the wing, I think, to be connected. So we'll take these and copy them to the other side. There we go. All right, so now you can see the compression. That's not a lot of compression for the large wing. A lot less than what I was expecting. And because of the speed incongruency, we are seeing that bobbing up and down, which is to be expected if we have variable speed. Unfortunately, I really didn't want variable speed, but that seems to be what's going on here. Also, we need to extend this back a lot more. We can actually probably add a weight in here now. There we go. That looks a lot more centered. All right, let's see. Feels better already. I almost feel like, I don't know, this is kind of getting, yeah, it's getting unreasonable. I want to put like a backdrop on this. Just like something like this, but this is just adding unnecessary weight. Yeah, it's gonna be impossible. I wanted to like make it so that you couldn't see the environment around you because like the spinning is a little obnoxious, but I would have to put so much. I would have to add so much to this to block all of the peripherals. All right, well, let's just stick with this. All right, that's not bad. I'm gonna go 1 less suspension though, because I feel like these are a little bit too strong despite being on like 0 strength. Maybe it's actually, they're not, I don't think their strength is really compounding the way I thought it was. I think it's just giving, it's less room to travel if I have less of them. Let's see what this looks like. All right, that might be a little too floppy. I think 3 might be the sweet spot. Yeah, I like 3. Okay, so we got that. Let's add, this number is going to be speed. So that's actually not bad. It's between 49 and 52 now. Okay, I like that. So now we need our distance sensor. This is actually turning out pretty well so far. Let's see, distance sensor right here. And then this is gonna send its measurement, only detect blocks. And then on the right-hand side, we're gonna have our distance. So this distance sensor goes out to here. And I think I gotta set the distance up. There we go, so 0.9. And then if I go, whoa, what? 50? Hold on. Oh, is the speed sensor going, did I copy and paste? Ah, the speed sensor is also going into there. All right, yeah, we want just the distance sensor going into there. All right, so 0.92. All right, so there we go. It goes down. Oh, this is weird. 0.92. 0.91. Why is the resting... 0.88? Why is the resting position have so much error? Maybe, what if I do put a weight... I don't want to put too much weight on it. What if I do put a weight on this, though? It's probably going to be bad. No, if I put a weight on this, it's going to block... things. It's gonna, so I think from what I'm aware, if you block the top or bottom of this, it actually blocks the lift on that part of the wing. And we can test that with this system, hopefully. I don't like this. Why is this not resetting? I do feel like the wing isn't heavy enough, or maybe there's just not enough weight on these. All right, what's a small but like medium weight? We need more weight increments. We have 30 kilograms and 50 kilograms. I need something that weighs like 10 kilograms. Probably an engine, huh? 9.37. All right, let's slap 2 of these down at the end of the suspension so that it pulls it down a little bit more. All right, so there is 9. 0.96. 0.98. 0.98. Oh, it's like way wobblier though, 0.94, and it's also still has a big room for error. All right, it's harder to get stable conditions than I was expecting with this setup. I figured that the suspension, what if I have the suspension on stiffer? What if I have them at their default settings, 0.5 and 0.5? All right, so now we're at 1.04. And that does like nothing though is the problem. Is that the damping or the stiffness? Probably more the stiffness. All right, let's put the damping down to 0. See what difference that makes. So now we're at 0.99 and somehow we're further away afterward. Okay, all right, 0.99 to 0.91. No, okay, that makes sense. It's not a lot of movement. Maybe do I add 2? Do I like double it up and like make it 2 sets? Like, do I go like this just for some more resolution? Let's see what happens here. Okay, we also have a problem. The wider I go, this side's gonna be getting more lift than this side the wider I go, just because of how circular the nature of the speed on a circumference, on a perimeter works in a circle. The farther out from the center of rotation, the faster it's going. So this side would have more lift than this side. So that is a little bit of a flaw, but as long as it's consistent between, okay. Oh, so 0.94, 0.94, 0.95, 0.94, 0.96, 0.94, 0.95. I do got to admit, the starting values have a smaller, 0.97. I was gonna say the starting values have a bit of a smaller error, smaller variability with this. I don't know. All right, well, let's see. So this is going to 0.81. Clearly 0.81 max or minimum. And that seems consistent between results. And the speed variability is honestly like, we're between 38 and 40. I'm feeling like that's pretty good. There is another potential flaw with this, but am I gonna be, I can't come up with a less flawed system right now. I don't know. I don't know if I can come up with a less flawed. Every other idea I could think of right now is worse than this, which is why this was my go-to idea. And this just has more flaws happening than I anticipated, but every other system is starting with more flaws. So let's just keep going with this idea. I kind of like it. I think it's an interesting experiment. I just thought of one of the first things I want to test is adding stuff to the wings, but there's a confounding variable there, because what I want to measure is if adding stuff on the wings lowers the amount of lift, and now we're getting different results here with this experiment. Now it's going down to 0.79 instead of 0.81. But if adding stuff to the wings reduces lift, I want to figure that out. But is it because the wings have less lift, or because adding stuff creates more drag, slowing down our experimental system, and having less speed means less lift? That makes sense? So our max speed is 40, and our max lift is 0.79. The lift value is reversed, the lower value is higher. So now if I add, for instance, like a shield, some shield blocks to these like this, if our speed is the same, then that should be a good value to measure. But here we go. So now our max speed is 44, but look at our lift values. Oh, well, here's a problem. Wait, no, is this a problem? The problem is we have more weight on our wings too. So that also changes things. It's not just lift, it's also weight. But I mean, it's a more practical experiment, because when you add this stuff to your wings, you also, like, you have that weight on your vehicle anyway. But This appears by default, we're at 0.96. 0.96, and then when we go, our max is 0.88, so that's an increase in 0.8, but the weight also just, it changes our starting position. So now if I add these to the bottom, does that make a difference? All right, so 0.96 starting position. Why is it stable now? And, oh, look at that. 0.93, 0.91, but it also like goes down even worse. Because my understanding is that this should essentially cancel out all lift. So I think if we do this, if we have the same amount of shield blocks, but the shield blocks are now on the edges, so we have this middle section open, this should generate lift where it wasn't before. So this should, somehow our starting position now is like way worse. That doesn't make any sense. The same amount of weight. All right, well, let's see what happens. I don't know. All right, we're going from 0.08, 0.99. Like, I don't know if we're generating lift. If you can't even tell if you're generating lift in the experiment, it's probably not a good experiment. How do we measure this? Let me try a different set of wings. Let's see what these ones are by default. See, I mean, this just looks better. Like, it looks like it has lifts. So we're going from 0.94 to 0.81. So that's a really good result. The other result was like a maximum of 0.8, but this is also consistent. This isn't like bobbing up and down. This is like, it's objectively staying more elevated than its starting position. Whereas the previous one was just bobbing up and down, even worse than its starting position and better than its starting position. So that's like, there's like no lift in that case, essentially. No effective lift. But this is like, we have effective lift here. All right, maybe it's a little bit more, maybe there are some actual results. All right, well, so 0.94 to 0.81 is the result we're getting right now. Let's swap these out for the smaller modular wings. This is going to be like the obvious test here. Just direct comparison, smaller and bigger wing. If this gives us the expected results, we're on to a good start. All right, so 0.97 starting point. The other one was 0.96, but whatever. So this should not go to 0.81. Okay, 0.89. So this is like half, because the other one was 0.96 to 0.81, which is what, 15? Yeah. And this is 7 to 0.89, which is 8. And it's like hovering between 0.9 and 0.889. So it's like in between 7 and 8, which is 15. Or half of 15, I mean. So this is exactly the result we would expect, actually. These are giving us half of the numerical results as the full modular wings. All right, so now that we've gotten back to some semblance of a value in this experiment, like maybe this is actually working a little bit. Now I'm gonna redo the modular wing test, and then I want to test modular wing versus flap wing, because these are the same exact size, but they are slightly different wings. And I've heard completely hearsay through the comments that the flap wings have less lift than the modular wings because of their added functionality with the flaps. So let's see. I'm trying to get like a baseline here. I feel like 0.96 is like, yeah, let's start at 0.96 to like 0.80. 0.96 to 0.80 is 16. So last time was 15. This time it's 16. So roughly around that result with your error bars included, you know. All right, so now we've got flap wings. Default flap wings. Our flap wings are not activated in any way. So these are these a different weight? This is 1.5 kilograms. They're both 1.5 kilograms, but for some, oh, something happened here. Hold on, let me do a repair. All right, that looks good. For some reason, these have a higher starting point. So 16 was the value of the modular wing. Let's see what the flap wings are. Okay, so we're going from 0.9 to 0.78. Why is... Hold on. Why is this tumbling around? Let me move these. I don't want to move anything, actually. But why is that disconnected? You see that? I'm going to flip this so that they're not connected to the suspension. No, that's weird. Why is that going down like that? We'll just have to deal with that. It's weird that that is, like, weirdly connected to the thing. All right, but 0.93 to 0.8, that's like 13. 0.93 to 0.8, that's 13. Let me do a repair and test again. 0.91 to 0.8, 0.79. So it's like 12 to 13 versus 15. So it actually does seem like these have a little bit less lift than the modular wings. So let's test that with the small flap wings. Let's say, the small modular wings versus the small flap wings. Do they have a similar difference? So these should be about a 0.7 difference. So this should get us down to about 0.9 to 0.89. And perfect result. Okay. So we got 0.7, 0.8 difference. And now let us use small flap wing. All right, so we're at 0.89. So if these were the same, here, let me do a little bit. Okay, 0.91, 0.9. All right, so we're at 0.9. So if this was the same, this should bring us down to 0.83 to 0.82. And we're hovering more around 0.83 to 5. So it is a little bit less. Just a little bit less according to this test, at least. It's like 0.84, 0.85. So it does seem like the flap wings do have a little bit less lift than the regular wings, if we can consider this a reliable experiment. But I would take everything that this experiment results in with a little bit of a grain of salt, because, like, I don't know if the physics of all this is dependable. All right, now, well, let's so if I press Q, those engage. So we should see a clear impact of that, right? So we're at 0.85. And then if I engage them. Oh, yeah, there it goes. Look at that. 0.6. Okay. At least when we're doing obvious things, the obvious result is congruent with what you would expect. That's encouraging to this experiment here. All right, so now we got things like these ailerons, which I believe do not generate lift. I believe these are purely for, like, stability and drag, but let's confirm it. All right, so these things are starting at 0.13. It still bothers me that that distance block is detached in that way, but all right, 0.03. So we should see it not really vary much from that. That should stay like the average. Why is it going to 0 at points? Oh, I think the distance sensor... No, why is it going to 0 at points? The distance sensor's not detecting it at some points? That's weird. All right, anyway, it's staying around 0.03. Yep. So those aren't doing much. Actually, this does have a variable here where these aren't actually attached here, so this isn't one solid system like it was with the other wings. All right, so now these are also similar in a way. Can I fit? I can't fit 3 in here, so I'm gonna have to, like, add something in there. Just gonna take a block that is relatively... Oh, wait, no, that's gonna affect things. That's gonna add downwards aerodynamics. We need something neutral. We can do this. That should not create any lift. All right, so these should also be just drag, not lift at all. So 1.02 should stay around there. Yep. Going between, like, 1 and 1.04, 0 and 0.04. So it's around averaging the same. So that's expected. All right, let's try our aerodynamic 4x4 wedge. Classic here, but facing this way, of course. So we're actually gonna have to put it right there. So if we do this, we should see no result because they should equalize, right? So we're at 0.82, should stay around 0.82. And yeah, look at that. is staying right around 0.82. All right, but if we delete this top layer, this should give some lift. So now we're at 1.02. And if we go, we're at 0.98. So this is 0.4. So much less than even like the flap wing. It's like half of what the flap wing does, essentially. So that's interesting. So now here's a question. These have a large surface area, but a shallow angle. On the other hand, these have a very small surface area, but a much steeper angle. And they don't attach at the sides, of course. So I think I should just be able to do that. No, wait, no, I need just a regular block. I should just be able to do so I should just be able to do that to attach them. So a steeper angle is going to create more resistance in the upwards direction, but smaller surface area is going to have less of an impact. So does this average out? Is this going to give us more than 0.4 of movement? 0.04 rather. So we're starting at 0.9. 0.9, yeah, around 0.9. So let's see if this gets us to 0.86. Okay, it's like 0.8. It's a little variable. It actually seems... It seems to be averaging around 0.86. It goes up to 0.85. So, interestingly enough, it almost seems like these have a similar amount of lift as these. Does it kind of end up just plain averaging out? As we lose our surface area, we gain angle of attack. So is this also going to be about 0.04? How are we at 0 right now? What's going on? How is that not detecting that? It was detecting the other version. Hold on, let me use before. Oh, it might have been it might be looking exactly in between. That might be the problem. Yeah, I think that's what was happening. It was looking directly between the crack and between both. All right, so now we're at 0.12, so this should bring us to 0.98 average. Okay, that's surprisingly why isn't this bouncing? That's surprisingly consistent, and that's actually better. Let me reconfirm the test. That was 0.6. It went from 1.02 to 0.96. These ones I thought were only 0.4. Let's retest that. So we're at, this should bring us to 0.98 if we are similar to what I thought the results were. Whoa, this is something new. So the 3 long wedge blocks have more lift than the 4 long wedge blocks. So what about the 2 long wedge blocks? All right, so we're at 1.02 again. So this should get us, if it's equivalent to the 4 long, it should get us 0.98. If it's equivalent to the 3 long, it should get us 0.96. Is it better than 0.96? I'd say that's slightly better. Probably negligible. Probably not a significant result. But it is going from 0.02 and it is crossing over to 0.95. The 3 long wedges were not crossing over to 0.95. So I am almost inclined to say these do have a little bit more of an impact. And you have to consider these also have extra weight here because they weren't attaching the same way. So they are lifting more weight than just themselves. So that is interesting. So then I got one more of these pieces left. We have this big, much bigger 2x2 45-degree angle. So let's see what this gives us. Still same starting 0.02. I'm gonna say this gets us to like 0.9. 0.94. So still better. The best so far, essentially. These are gonna get you the most lift out of any wedge pieces, but also they are gonna have more wind resistance, which is why they give you more lift. All right, well, that was interesting. What about rounded wedges? Do these things provide lift at all? They do got a curve there. Let's see what happens here. So same starting result, 1.02. Whoa, no way. Is this the best one right now? Are you kidding me? I did not expect that result. These give more lift than the 45-degree 2x2 wedge. All right, what about this one? Do I have a 4-long version of that? Yeah, here we go. This one I feel like should give us more. Oh, this is starting at 1. All right, so the other one went from 1.02 to 0.93. So that's a 0.9 difference. So if this is equivalent to the other rounded wedge, then this should bring us to 0.91. Oh, this is worse. This is actually worse. Okay. Interesting. Oh, spoilers. What are spoilers gonna do compared to like wings? So our best wing, the modular wing, was 0.15. So that should bring us to 0.8 if these are equivalent to modular wings. 0.81. So that's 14. So they're kind of around, they're pretty much like the same as a flap wing, it seems like. That's a pretty consistent result too. I feel like our system has been getting more consistent and less bouncy with the more things we experiment with. All right, so that's interesting. Let's try this one. Oh, this doesn't work. It's not the same amount of air. It's not the same. It's not the same. Because I used 2 of these. Because these have the same width. They can take up the same spot as like a modular wing. All right, how big is this one? Oh, will this fit? Oh, this will fit. See what this one does. This is kind of cool. All right, so 0.95 to 0.73. This is the best wing so far. So for this area, an 8 wide area, this has given us the most lift. It goes from 0.95 to 0.73. That's 22. That's a lot more than the big modular wing. This might be the best wing. Oh, this is also, let's try this. Front wing. All right, 0.92 starting position to 0.89. So that's like, wait, so we went from 0.9, okay, 0.93, 0.92. That's like 13. Wait, no, 0.79. Yeah, so it's like 13. So that's worse than the small, no, that's worse than the flap wing, the big flap wing. Yeah, it's like 13 or 14. So that's around like the big flap wing. A little bit worse than the big flap wing, I think. But this, the Supercar spoiler, might actually be the best source of lift. It's actually kind of a cool looking thing too. How interesting. And then like, if you add like this, that could look cool. Or you could add the small ones. But the attachment point is there. Nah, definitely large ones are better. Okay, something to think about. How much lift does a party balloon have? I mean, the thing is it has inherent lift. So actually, we can't test this because we can't turn it on and off. Oh no, it lifts up my whole creation. Okay, never mind about that. Oh, helicopter blade. Do we have one that is this long? Oh, that is that long, exactly. The only thing is, it doesn't attach to this side, so it's technically gonna have less resistance. So that does, this isn't gonna be an accurate result, I don't think. So 0.93. We can't do this one. Our system doesn't accommodate this. I can't think of a way to stabilize that, unfortunately. So a helicopter blade, it is interesting though to wonder, like I do wonder what the lift of a helicopter blade is going straight through the air. How do I test it? Because I can't attach both ends and stabilize it. The only thing I could potentially do is like use the small one and have one on each side so they kind of cancel out. I mean, But the results, we can't compare the results because the system is totally different right now because we only have one set of suspension. But we go from 0.88 to 0.72, which is pretty good, but there's two wrong things. One is that this takes up more area. We have more wing area than we've had for the previous results. And the other thing is we're only using a single set of suspension, so it's just encountering less resistance. Oh, here's an idea. This should actually be a much more neutral test of blocking wings. So let's, oh, I wanted to test this with spoilers too. So if we have spoilers, let's just do upside down because we're measuring lift. So these are what? 9.5 to 8, 9.5 to 8.81. So now if I just take these chrome bumpers and then just cover the bottom, does this make a difference? Wait, why are we starting so much higher? Oh, because of the chrome bumpers. Hold on. We're gonna leave a little bit open. All right, let's see if this makes a difference. So 0.9, wasn't it 9.5 before? 0.9, 0.7, that seems like it's about the same. So if the bottom's covered, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But what about, well, this part might not work the same way though. But what if we have this part covered down here? All right, so 0.91. Oh, it's like, it's behaving weird now. There's like a bend in it. Why is that happening? Let me repair. .7, 0.9 to 0.72. Why is that 1.02 now? 0.86, 1.02 to 0.86. That's like 16. And then without it, 0.95 to 0.81. That's like 14. So yeah, I don't think that's affecting the result. But let's try it with an actual, like, real piece of hardware here, since the chrome bumpers don't, like, really get detected. All right, 0.93, 0.79. So that's still, like, 14. So that's not really mattering. Now, out of curiosity, if I block the bottoms of these, like this, we're at 0.9. Oh. But that has weight too, so the weight matters. Yeah, I can't really easily test these results here. I just want to know if blocking these really changes that much about them as far as our lift goes. Now, there is an interesting result here. You may notice that I have no center of lift right now, but when I delete these, the center of lift appears. That might be the only answer we need. You can see now this one is not contributing to center of lift, and if I do this, now, oh, okay. There we go. Now this one's not contributing to center lift. If I do this, it is. Oh, I got an idea. Let's get this result. So 0.89, 0.88, 0.9. All right, so we're gonna say 0.9. 0.9 to like 0.3 to 5, 0.84. I'm gonna say is like the average. Now I'm just gonna move these down and then just add a very light attaching block here. This is 0.3 kilograms, which is lighter than a pipe. But now you can see we have our center of lift again. So it went from 0.9 to around what did I say? 0.84, 0.85, 0.84. So that's 0.6. So now we're at 0.9. Okay, clear difference. Clear difference. So if you block the tops of your spoilers, you will have a bad time. What about the bottoms of your spoilers? Do we still get center of lift? Oh, we don't get any lift at all from these. So 1. And it remains at 1. Okay. You can't even block the bottoms of these. So just attaching a spoiler, I've heard this from the comments. I didn't know whether it was true or not. So if you just put a spoiler on top of your thing like this, like, and covered the whole bottom of it, like if you do this, it's not doing anything. I feel like if the top is good, if the top is open, it should do something, but it seems like even with just the bottom covered, it does nothing. All right, so that question is answered. Does the bow provide lift? Is a question that has probably not been asked. So let's see what happens here. We're starting at 0.15. And we're staying around 0.15. So the bow doesn't appear to generate lift. I think it's just like drag, like stability, like a tail fin pretty much. What about this windshield? Does this generate any lift? It doesn't take up the same amount of space. I just want to know, does it have lift? All right, so 0.103. Okay. Interestingly, zero effect. You would think that this would be treated like a wedge block. Like if we look at the aerodynamics of it in this direction. Yeah, you would think that that would generate lift, but it does not. So that means it's not generating downforce if you add it to a vehicle, I think. So I would assume that this hood will have a similar result. All right, 0.89. Yeah, it's like, it's kind of hovering around there. All right, not all aerodynamic pieces function the same way with wind resistance, with wind and lift. Because these wedges and these rounded pieces clearly interact with lift and these spoilers. But if you go under the structural category, even though these things are aerodynamic and they're shaped like wedges, they don't seem to generate lift, these things here. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. So there it is. This is our scientific, super scientific lift measuring machine. And I think I did all right. It's okay. It's definitely not ideal. It's not perfect, but we were able to get results that were predictable. And in a game like this, sometimes that's more than you can even ask for. So if you have any other weird experiments you'd like to see happen, let me know down in the comments below. Because obviously this is a result of exactly that. If you guys enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy some more you can find right here on the end screen. Hope this video has earned your subscription. Anyway, this has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.